Howdy amateurs, and welcome. Today is a Minecraft video day. Minecraft is the most downloaded game ever. This shouldn't be a surprise. It dwarfs the next few games on the list for how many times it's been bought. If you look up on YouTube, there's a bajillion different theories and breakdowns of why Minecraft is as popular as a game as it is. But that's not what this video is. Today, we're looking at the narrative of Minecraft. The spawning into the world to the beating of the Ender Dragon. Because if you look at it objectively, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Jumping through several dimensions, a dragon at a place called the End. You know, I would love to have seen a Minecraft pitch meeting, because that's a story that doesn't make a lot of sense when you look at it. Yet, so many millions of people have played the game and didn't question it. They played it and they're like, yeah, this makes sense. And I'm here with the question, why is that? And here's my short answer, and then I'll give you a long answer. Short answer is, it's the hero's journey. It's a story that we're all very familiar with. Well, what's the hero's journey? Well, if you're unfamiliar with the hero's journey, it's one of the archetypical stories that we as a species has been passing down word of mouth for generations. Before we could write, we had oral tradition. Some of the stories we still write and make movies and games of today are stories from way back when, and one of those is the hero's journey. And go look it up. Interesting content from the myths that the Greeks spoke from the Disney movies that you loved as a kid, full of archetypal stories. But what's the deal with the stories? Why does a story last for so long? Is it that good of a story? It's not just a story. It's told as an analogy. It's generations of people have lived their lives and thought, this makes sense. There's something about this and the way we live that's important. So there are people that make psychology and sociology studies of these stories and learn from them. And that's the point. We're supposed to learn from these stories. So not only am I talking about the narrative of Minecraft in terms of the hero's story, I want to talk about the hero's story in the terms of your life. So the question is, can your life be made better by playing it like a Minecraft game? In not so many words, but let's get into it. So here's the disclaimer. Most of what I talk about is analogous, which means I'm speaking in analogies. So it's not all one for one. If I say a dragon, there aren't literal dragons walking around, but you'll see what I mean, so bear with me. So imagine this. You load up a new Minecraft game. You spawn, or rather you're born, into a new world. A Minecraft seed that is randomized, that most likely no one's ever seen before. It's very unique to you. And this is what we'd call a state of chaos. You know nothing about this new land that you're in. It's completely uninhabited. You have hearts, you're going to get hungry, and that's about it. No tools, no anything. And your job is to go and apply order to the world. You are a being that brings order. And for most of the game, you're contending with the chaos of the world. And let me tell you, that's not too much different from our own lives. From the day you're born to the day you die, you are going out and contending with the world. Sometimes it's complete chaos that you're going against, and sometimes it's order that's constricting you that you're fighting against. The idea here is chaos and order is the yin and yang that you have to find, and that's the backbone to a lot of stories. It's very good to look at your life and go, wow, I'm not doing anything. Maybe I need to go contend with something. Maybe I need to challenge myself. And sometimes you gotta look at your life and go, there's way too much order here. As well as, there's not enough order. I just made my bed for the first time in weeks for this video. Anyways, so it's safe to say that the world that you spawn into is a place of chaos that must be contended with, and you must cast order upon it. You must go out and learn from this world, and in it is your chance for producing things. You will have to toil. In Minecraft, you know good and well that you can spend the first day, running around exploring, but if you don't go straight to it, the night's going to come and you're not going to have a good time of it. And that's also like our life. You can sit around and not do a whole lot, and your life will sneak up on you, and it sucks, but we need to toil, we need to do things. So, moving on. Here's a better way of saying it. We need to toil. We need to sacrifice today for a better tomorrow, and sometimes you won't enjoy that tomorrow for a long time, but that be our existence. And here I point out, I do want to say the 4 original mob designs in Minecraft are really good and well designed. I'm not going to try to attach analogies to them. Their gameplay mechanics are made perfectly to go against you. If you build walls, you have spiders that will climb them. You have zombies that will beat down your doors. You have skeletons who will melee you before you can hit them. And of course, creepers are made to undo the core mechanic of the game. Blow up whatever you have to build. And they're all really well designed, so I'm not surprised. But despite all the difficulty, you enter a positive spiral upward. Your small dwelling in the beginning slowly turns into houses and bases. Your tools from wood to stone to iron and diamond. Many are satisfied with this. You had adventures into the unknown, and you cast order into the chaos by your own hand. The oldest of the creation myths. You are strong, and the mobs aren't as fearsome as they were. Sure, sometimes they sneak up on you, but even as their spawn rates increase, you rise and stay ahead. And sure, there's always more chaos to explore and experience. Minecraft is a rather large world, but this is good. Too much order is a bad thing anyways, and if it was much smaller, you'd certainly run out of game to play. This is a life that many people work to. They learn about the world around them, find a job, a place to call their own, and still experience chaos all the time. Even if you slowly improve by 0.5% a week, in several years, my guy, you can be doing pretty well for yourself. Don't forget that. But there's a problem. While this is enough for a lot of people, for another bunch, we know there's a dragon. The Ender Dragon. She really doesn't bother us, in the overworld. She's all the way in the end. But we know she's out there. She's in control of the end, and she's hiding treasure we'd like to have. She's the ultimate embodiment of chaos that we can and should go out the best. Think about this for a moment. The Ender Dragon has no effect on us. Other than having loot that we want, there's really no effect of the Ender Dragon on the rest of the game. This isn't Breath of the Wild, where this isn't a Zelda game or any other kind of game where the main boss has its grasp on the world and you have to go free the world. The overworld in Minecraft is not affected by the Ender Dragon. Yet we feel this need to go out and to best it. And I'll get more into that, but just think about that. It's just, why do we feel this need? It's super interesting to me. The Ender Dragon. Everyone has seen dragons before. We have seen them in classic medieval tales and mythology that goes way back. You've seen them in Lord of the Rings, and the legged snake from Adam and Eve, that was a dragon of sorts. The dragon at its core, as far as symbolism and stories, represents a winged, legged snake. We as humans are natural enemies of snakes. Even those of you who don't believe we evolved from apes have to admit the high rate of people scared of snakes compared to most other animals in the world besides, well, spiders. Why I mention apes is because apes are very much afraid of snakes. You don't have to show an ape a snake in its life, but when it sees one for the first time, freaks out. It knows what a snake is. Besides that, snakes and snake-like creatures are used as antagonists in a lot of our stories. Jungle Book, Harry Potter, any kind of dragon, think about it. I rest my case. Anyways, a snake that can fly. A snake that can fly. It should be no surprise that the sky is associated with the divinity. A snake that flies, but also has legs and resides on the earth. Dragons live forever, so if you don't go out and best it and deal with it, it'll bother you and your lineage for the rest of time. It hoards treasure, so it takes things, and it has things that you want, and it breathes fire. So if it wanted, it could destroy anything that you and all your ancestors have ever built. That's what fire can do. So, as far as dreaming up a problem to be dealt with, dragons embody literally every problem you can deal with. It threatens your lineage for all of time, and it threatens destroying everything that you and your ancestors have ever built. And it has things that you want. There isn't a bigger problem than that. So now I ask, if you let yourself think in a metaphorical sense, do you have any dragons in your life? Think metaphorically. An abusive parent or partner. A horrible boss, your job, a class, a fear that plagues you every day. Anything that's not letting you have a good time of it. Something that you can't simply wait out. Something that has something you want. And, ignoring this thing could give you a lot more trouble than it's worth, and it has a power over you, and that might not make sense with all the examples I gave, but your job, for instance. You have to contend with your job to get money, so it has something you want. If you simply ignore your job, then you're not going to get money anymore. So it's some problem you can't ignore. You've always had the work, and you're always going to have to need more money. That's an issue. But if your job is a dragon, something that's beating you down every day, not letting you have a good time of it, it's very well in control of you. And just, you can take those bits and pieces and apply it to any problem you have in your life, and most likely you're going to see a dragon of some kind there. If you think about it in a metaphorical sense. And please do think about this. An unpaid bill, a fight you had with a loved one, something you've been putting off perhaps. Procrastination is very much a dragon. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me anything otherwise. So many do to the inner dragon. Again, the inner dragon isn't hurting you from the overworld. Yet so many feel this drive to need to go and contend with it. Okay, so Minecraft has a dragon. I'll stop talking about Minecraft. So after you've built your base in the overworld, what's the first step to go and contend with the dragon of Minecraft? What do? We go into the Nether, aka the Underworld, aka we visit HE double hockey sticks of all places. Why? What does it have to do with a dragon? Well, it makes us stronger and has things that we kind of need. Not unlike the things we want that the dragon has. It's a different kind of want and need. So think about it. The Nether is a new kind of chaos. There's a whole bunch of places to explore, but it has a new danger. Fire and lava. You step into lava and it will take everything from you. So this is very much a risk. It's a chaos that risks taking everything that you've worked for, but it's a risk that pays off. So what does this look like in your life? Well, traveling to the underworld is quite an old mythos, but you've certainly seen it. A lot of the time, The attempt to fight back against a dragon in your life means things get quite a bit worse before they get better. That is why so many people put up with the dragons in their life rather than risk fighting it at all. That's why it's such a difficult thing to do. Quitting a job, moving out, breakups are all very scary. So scary, in fact, that many people will put up with the issues that they're dealing with now because of how scary it is to try to do something about it. And there's this saying that I like that goes something like, people would rather take the demons that they know rather than risk the demons that they don't. The unknown is very scary. There's no if, and, or but about that. And besides all this, sometimes you have to go to a hard place to look at your life from another perspective to even try to find the dragon that's harming you. Sometimes you're having a bad time of it and you don't even know what's giving you a bad time of it. You might know, and then again, you might know what the issue is, but you might have no idea of how to deal with it. I don't know a good example for this, but there's a lot of people that walk around and know there's something wrong. They're doing something wrong. There's something that's affecting them. And they have no idea how to handle it. So, and I'll talk more about the Nether here. So there are things in the Nether in Minecraft that you have to deal with. Pigmen, blazes, wither skeletons, and endermen, to name a few. And these are all really important. We all know some pig-headed fellows. Those that you see that might have tried to handle the harshness of the world before they were ready, or maybe they enjoy the harshness of the world. These people will certainly cut you down if you run into them. And these people, you can ward them off with trivial pursuits of wealth. So they might leave you alone if they see you in a position of status. They might even be useful, but it'd be useful to remember that this is all they see. These are the kind of people that don't keep their life and home in order and are destined to, waste away. Zombie piglin. Then there are blazes, the intellectual folk that cast a bright light but only live to, burn you with their words rather than do anything constructive. And, they avoid direct confrontation. And one of the more scarier variations that you run into in the Nether are wither skeletons. These are the people who live in malice, who wither away anything they touch. These are the ones that remind you that there is evil in the world. It is more rare, but if you get a few of their heads together, or minds together, they produce some of the most destructive and evil forces in the world, or overworld has ever seen. These create the war times that create the elevated peace times that societies cultivate from. And of course I'm talking about withers and nether stars here. And then last but not least, you'll meet some folk that are enslaved to their dragons. Endermen. They are dodgy, meek, and shy. They'll shy away from anything. Way too okay with the bare minimum, and probably blame the world for the position they are in rather than doing anything about it, and are way over touchy if they feel like they're being challenged. Like eye contact. Alright, so the Nether is arguably the underworld. So what does a metaphorical journey through the underworld help with the metaphorical bout with a dragon? Or a metaphorical bout to our dragons? Well, let's look at why we have to go to the Nether in the first place. Sure, we can wander around aimlessly to find our way to our dragon in the overworld, but it'd be good if this was shown to us, and that's why we start the path in the Nether. In Minecraft, to find the end portal, we need Eyes of Ender, a literal eye. We make these with blaze powder and end pearls. These certainly have big symbolic meanings in the heroes' myths and other mythos. The eye is generally used to represent enlightenment, consciousness, and seeing. The two items we use to to make these eyes are blaze powder and ender pearls. An item for magic potions and making lights, and an item used for teleporting. What can you gain from misguided knowledge and unused potential? Perhaps enlightenment? Ender pearls are used to move quickly and avoid obstacles, and even get out of danger. Or metaphorically, they get you out of responsibility and hardship. But just like the pearl, it hurts you when you use it. So that's kind of weird, just reading that now. But it's like unused potential. The Endermen. They're dodgy, they're enslaved to their dragons, they avoid responsibility, and you can learn, you can follow in their footsteps and learn to do what they do. Just like in Minecraft, you can get the ender pearls and learn how to, save yourself sometimes by dodging, and teleporting around, but it hurts you in the long run. So that's just like an ender pearl. So that's just super interesting to me. And then, I'll make a connection to like lights and lighting the way and finding your way and enlightenment and so forth. The blaze rods, blaze powder is used for magic and, or potions, not magic, and making end rods. So if you can think about it, it's like knowledge, it's lighting the way, enlightenment, all of this. It's really all of this metaphorical stuff into the Eye of Ender. So you go into the underworld, you get stronger, you learn from it, and even gain enlightenment about what's causing you hardship from before. It may only point you in a direction, but it's better than nothing. So here I'm going to branch off, so skip ahead if you want, but I want to talk about some Egypt myths, just because I think it really has some weight here and how everything's kind of Minecraft. So in the ancient Egypt myths around the Eye of Horus, and I believe there's so much correlation here with the Eye of Ender. Horus is the son of the god of the underworld and resurrection, so like our nether, and the goddess of magic and protection, Isis, which is our blade powder, magic, blaze powder makes magic potions, so think about that. And the Eye of Horus is torn out in a fight with the Egyptian god of the desert and chaos, named Set. Their fighting with Set killed Osiris, the first guy I talked about. The eye that was torn out was restored by the god of knowledge. And this god of knowledge was actually born during the fight of Set and Horus. The eye that was restored is then given back to the dead Osiris who resides in the underworld. This doesn't resurrect Osiris, but does restore his divinity of sorts, so it kind of brings him back power. So in the stories, it's kind of made obvious that the fighting of Set and Horus is often equated to the battle of chaos and order, as much as good and evil. There's a lot in these stories I highly recommend you check out. More correlations I saw were the Eye of Horus gave back the power to the now king of the underworld, just as the Eye of Ender gives us purpose of the nether. Like, there's other things we can do in the nether, but like the main purpose of the nether is when the Eye of the Ender pays off for the Ender Dragon, And Horus being the son of the underworld king and the goddess of protection of magic, again, blaze powder helps makes the Eye of Ender and are used in magic potions. That's really cool. And then the king existed, but was killed because of the force of chaos, but was restored because of his own offspring. So the nether is strife with chaos, but when we fight against it with order, it can bring forth to us magic for the creation of Eyes of Ender, and thus giving the nether meaning. And I'm, you might think I'm kind of reaching, but like there's something here. I know it. This, at any point, go into the comments and make fun of anything I'm talking about, ask questions, add to it. So here's kind of where I summarize all of this. The underworld, a more natural chaos of the world, when in contact with the natural force of order, magic if you will, together produces potential knowledge and enlightenment. When said potential then tangles with pointed and malevolent chaos, knowledge is created. And with that knowledge, that potential enlightenment becomes actual enlightenment, thus coming full circle and bringing meaning and value to the natural chaos of the world. It's a creation. It's in a way, it's a creation myth. It's very deep. Anyways, that was a bit of a tangent of the hero's myth route, but it was too interesting to me to not include here. So you have your Eyes of Ender. You leave the Nether stronger than ever, and it's time to use the Eyes of Ender to help you find the Ender Dragon and best it. I would also like to quickly mention the potential for using the Nether portals to cover far distance. Another metaphor for me to say having a mastery of the hardest places of the world can get you way further faster than taking the easier way out, or quote-unquote easier way out. Just when you leave your own underworlds stronger with new enlightenment, you can set out to find your own dragon as well. Eventually you find a stronghold. You will have ventured deep into the chaos of your Minecraft worlds and found it. The last place standing between you and confronting your dragon. It's a maze of confusion. There's a library here for some reason, some loot, but most importantly, the portal room, with places for your Eyes of Ender. Above lava, perhaps a sign that you should go back to the place of lava if you are not ready. A sign that if you aren't ready, this endeavor might end you and lose all that's important to you. Whether the Ender Dragon kicks your butt or you jump into a portal frame that isn't set up right and you die because of lava. So I also find it interesting that the netherite is found in the nether. And to me, to find enough netherite to get armor is like a sign of besting it. And when you cover your tools in the substance, it is not burnt up by the lava, meaning that the original chaos, the problem with the nether that originally talked about that risks taking everything from you, goes down significantly. Like, there's other things you can lose in lava, even if you get your armor back, but I feel like that's a big sign there. So all in all, you are ready, and you open the end portal. So, you are now a stronger individual who has investigated and applied order to new places of your life. You've acquired knowledge, and perhaps you found the root of your issues, and you might now know how to fix it. You certainly are ready. And so here's a side note, going back to the Eye of Horus mythos, Egyptian mythos. The library in the stronghold reminds me of Thoth, the god of knowledge, that came from the Chaos and Order fight. In Minecraft, the Eyes of Ender finally served their purpose, providing the value that going to the Nether was. You have bested the last bit of chaos before the dragon, just as it was Horus getting the upper hand with Seth that produced Thoth, just as there is a library, a representation of the knowledge in the strongholds. So a shorter way of saying that, in the mythos, when they fought, knowledge was created, and it was that guy who then brought the eye back that went and resurrected the Nether. And I kind of mentioned that already, but it isn't till you get to the stronghold that the Eyes of Ender were worth something. So you could leave the Nether with them and throw them and them lead you in directions, but it's not until that point that they bring meaning to what the nether did for you, other than make you a hell of a lot stronger. So read into that for me. That's super interesting. The Ender Dragon fight. The dragon flies around constantly, healing from the pillars it has driven into this part of the world, surrounded by many whom she holds dominion over, the Endermen. It can knock you off your feet and breathe puddles of a kind of fire at you. Slowly you destroy its connections here. Sometimes the Endermen are mad at her, sometimes they're mad at you. However, you eventually best her, but she leaves behind an egg. It's elusive, but you can catch it and keep it. Your dragon fight might be much of the same. Whatever dragon you're fighting can have deep roots into your life, and you might not know were there. The confrontation can certainly knock you off your feet and remind you that you're still vulnerable, as well as remind you that being stagnant is not a good option either. The breathing, the fire, staying in one place isn't good, blah, blah, blah. But you can do it. You can confront the dragon in your life and remove it. But watch out for what is left behind. As easy as it is to choose to ignore or even hate an ex-lover, a parent, or boss after they have caused you all this trouble, they did help you grow to be the person you are after you've grown. So that's what I think the egg left behind kind of means. Don't choose to demonize them. Keep a small part of who or what it was that you overcame in a place of respect. Not to give it power back over you later on, but you respect what it was. You respect it as something that you overcame, not to be demonized and all of that. When you beat the Ender Dragon, you now have the ability to go back to your original beloved place of order. But you also have the way to end cities, elytras, shulker boxes, and plenty of loot. The ability to fly and hold way more items is pretty great after all, and just as well, when you remove the dragon from your own life, things you want come forth. Just like from the old knights' tales about dragons who hoard gold. You most certainly can do more when whatever oppressive force is lifted up and do things much more freely, and you might feel like you can zip around, and fly and handle way more than you could have before, and this is responsibility, And that, my dear viewer, is the archetypical hero's journey myth that is in Minecraft. This is a good place to wrap up, but I do have a few more thoughts. Believe it or not, the ghast, the big thing that has the cat scream and the nether, gave me a lot of trouble when I was trying to conceptually fit this into my hero's myth narrative. At first I thought they were pretty self-explanatory. They made me think of the chaos of that of an egotistical person, a large head that floats around and avoiding direct conflict, but gladly tries to destroy you with words from afar. Not too far different from the blaze. But the ghast here is what confused me the most. It is used in potions of regeneration and in the end crystal used to bring about another Ender Dragon. From a gameplay perspective, this makes sense. It regenerates in potion. It makes regeneration potions, and it also regenerates a dragon, but that kind of clashes with my idea. Whenever I bring back the Ender Dragon in the end, I never feel like I'm reviving the same dragon. More like we're getting or finding a new one. With my hero myth explanation, this makes sense. We are using, when you make an end crystal, you have ghast here and you have your Eye of Ender. I'm kind of spinning it as you're going and finding and besting more dragons, in the story is further enlightenment to find more beings of chaos. But then what could the gas tier be in the hero's myth? Like, it makes sense in the story if you're going and beating more dragons, but the gas tier doesn't make a lot of sense so far. But so what I'm thinking is they're not too far away from my blaze metaphor, as the fiery bit of the blaze helps create the path to the Eye of Ender. Could the more explosive counterpart of the dodgy aerial attackers give us a stronger item that directly helps us to find more dragons? Ish, kind of a reach. Sounds decent to me. I mean, there's still the regeneration properties, but that's okay. And there are other mobs, in the Nether I didn't mention, like Striders. But Striders are walking gameplay mechanics. They do nothing but help you walk on lava. So I don't think they were very important to talk much about. But I also want to flesh out the implications of the Wither. I mentioned Wither skeletons and kind of alluded to the Wither, but I think the Wither skeletons kind of represent the more psychopathic, sociopathic, or more evil people that are out there. Just as a Wither skeleton seeks to wither away all life around them, so do some people. And you get a couple of these people together, and they create something bad. A creature that quite literally will destroy anything and everything completely unbiased. This could represent gangs, cults, or full-on war, as I've already mentioned. But what happens when the war is won? When this beast is toppled? Peacetime, posterity, most likely a time that was slightly better than before, if not a lot better. This is what happens when you beat the Wither. You get the main part of a beacon, which benefits your base. It makes you stronger, or whatever you use the beacon for. And, all of my metaphors here are stretches, but I felt pretty strongly about this one as well, so I included it. And with that, I've talked about everything I want to talk about. This has been a deep dive into Minecraft and the hero's myth as it connects to our lives. Question and comments below, and I really hoped you liked this. And a big PogChamp to you all. My girlfriend wrote that. I should have read this script over again. But, that's into my script, but I put a lot of energy into this script. And I could have spent, a couple more weeks writing on this, but I wanted to cut it at some point because I have other things I would like to get to, but all of this really interests me, and I really hope this spoke to someone out there. It's kind of stretch. I could have wrote some of these bits better as in relations to actually helping people fix things in their lives, but I really hope it motivated someone, whether it motivated a casual Minecraft player to go beat the dragon for the first time, or a person who's having trouble out there to go mess up their life a little bit and get up, better at the other end, whatever it is that this video winds up doing. And, no, I'm going to be really happy about this one. Thanks, everyone.